Coming in hot tonight on Stand Up, Stand Out America, here with yours truly, Bianca Gracia, La Conservadora Tejana. Joining me tonight is one of my dear friends who I love the most. He's my favorite from the West Coast. I don't even know if we consider you from the West Coast, but you know, I just love him dearly. He's become like a brother from another mother, Joey Gilbert. Former,
you know what? The West Coast, I'm originally from Chicago, but moved out to Nevada. Been here, spent a lot. I love my time in Florida, though. Got to give my props out for Florida. Obviously, Texas is one of my next favorite places. I know anywhere where freedom is, is a big deal. We like to be, two great governors. But how about DeSantis, though? Let's just talk about him real quick. Mopping up the other night. And, I think there's, the bullshit that they're trying to start left and right. I think we had a quick conversation about it. But I'll just say this. DeSantis, you know what, man? He didn't just talk the talk. That man walked the walk. I remember in the middle of the pandemic, him, Kristi Noem, a few of them, they said what was going to go down. It went down. And now they mopped up and they've got people everywhere. It was a landslide. It was a red wave in Florida, baby.
It was definitely a red wave in Florida. And not only that, I just saw something that said every single school board, camp or candidate that he endorsed in the state of Florida all won 30-0 record for DeSantis. 30-0. Every single school board member. Tell me that he's not. You're right. Listen, he's not just talking the talk. He's actually walking the walk. He is actually. They won big. They set the standard for even embarrassing Texas. I'm sorry. I mean, embarrassing Texas. There was a lower voter turnout. We had 30% lower voter turnout in Texas than we did in 2018 because we don't compare it to 2020. We compare it to the last governor race. 30% less came out to the polls. You ask why. People were not enthused, Joey. They weren't like, hey, I have, even though this inflation and everything is going on, they weren't thrilled about the candidates that the Uniparty establishment gave us.
I got to stop you right there because I'm telling you, I was out there. You were out there the time before, but I've been out there and they were done with this. Listen, this is we can't get confused. DC Drano put out something that I think is very mindful, and it got sent to me by a couple people. First of all, we're going to have a little bit of a disagreement. First of all, let me back up. First and foremost, Trump should not be fighting with Ron DeSantis at all for any reason. I don't care who told him that. Whatever strategist told him that, you're an absolute idiot. Knock it off. That's done. So now that we're done with that stuff,
I don't think it's a strategist. I think it's just him. He can't help himself. He can't help himself. So Trump, President Trump, if you're watching, if anybody can tell you, just stop because it's stupid and it's unnecessary. And again, just stop, right? You don't want to listen to me anyway, but you're an idiot if you push that thing. Now, that being said, they wanted to make sure Trump endorsed candidates did bad. So again, they've let people slide through. I'm telling you, I watched it with my own eyes. They let people get through. He even endorsed people that he was told by the GOP establishment, this guy's going to win. This guy has a better chance. If you don't think that Mitch McConnell and that Paul Ryan and these guys were circling around the country doing Trump dirty everywhere they could, you got another thing coming. Because if it meant that these guys would go backroom deal and say, listen, your governor, we're going to let your Democrat governor stay in. But these are the terms. No more mandates. No more. I'm telling you, this stuff was negotiated and figured out a long time ago. And their whole thing is about taking the buzz off Trump because you still got a guy who can go pack a rally with 40,000 people. And now you're right. He's not listening to us on a lot of things. There's a lot of things he's not listening to the people on. But at the end of the day, they needed to be able to take the shimmer, the glimmer, the shine from Trump and be able to say he's not the golden, he's not the kingmaker anymore. DeSantis is the kingmaker because I love DeSantis, but if that guy's even being seen in the same room with Chuck Schumer and Paul Ryan and any of those guys, and they're whispering in his ear, he's blowing it because he already got a proven recipe for how to win. And if he does what he did in Florida, now remember, DeSantis was smart. He never talked about election integrity, but what he did is he put election integrity efforts into play. Now, I would rather have a guy doing than running his mouth about election stuff. And so, DeSantis, again, guy went to Ivy League. Guy's brilliant, by the way. The guy put an awesome strategy in place, followed it through. And now I'll just tell you this.
Trump should shut his mouth and go find, attorney generals in states that he's got attorney generals in. A couple governors tighten those election laws to make it that he can have stronger Republican wins there. Because you ain't going to do anything in these blue states right now.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I think you're hitting it on the mark. And even let me just go back and finish this thought. But even in Texas, though, even with a low voter turnout because people were not excited to get to the polls, even with that, we managed to move the needle with a Hispanic turnout. The Hispanic Republicans went to go because we've created more Hispanic Republicans because we've done that on the ground. So we were able to get 40% Hispanic voter or Republican turnout now. So that's a huge thing in Texas. It's what kind of saved Texas. And the only reason that the Hispanics really came out to vote for Abbott is not because they like him, they love him. It's because they can't stand Beto. So it's for them, it was just an easy choice. They didn't want Beto having anything to do with our state. Let's go back to DeSantis and the whole Trump thing. I completely wholeheartedly agree because I've been trying to heed warnings. They don't listen, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm insignificant. I don't know nothing, right? Whatever. That's fine. I don't care. I'm going to continue to do what I do. But, here's the not just that, but now we're getting into this chartered waters where I'm seeing all these influencers that have been with Trump, loyal to Trump since 2015, 2016, that we've taken the heat. I mean, listen, we J6, bottles thrown at us, Antifa doxing us, you name it, it's been done to us. Listen, there's nobody else out there can sit there and say, oh yeah, I was doing this. No, you weren't. Unless you have battle of honor, patches on you because they come after you so much because you're doing something right. You ain't done nothing. So here's the thing. Those people are coming out right now, Joey, and they're saying, they don't like what they're seeing. They don't like this trend that Trump is going to. They don't like how he's talking, how he's acting. They don't like the boasting. They don't like the cheap shots and everything. Right now, we're in the middle of runoffs. We're in the middle of, come on, Nevada. You guys are still counting ballots? I mean, for crying out loud. Here's another thing, Joey. One of the things that really, really, that I'm seeing these people say, hey, we don't think we can support him if he continues in this path. We can't do this. We're done defending him. Like they're done defending Trump because he keeps making stupid decisions. And that's the thing. And we tried to warn him, but you know what? It's like you said, Joey, to get an endorsement from Trump, you had to give him $250,000 into the PAC. He has all these gatekeepers and all these gatekeepers were determining who got the endorsement and who didn't. There was races he should have won. Hands down, if you went with the right person, the right America First candidate that you had that could have gone in there and swarmed the people. You had to create a movement for crying out loud. If you can create a movement,
I gotta say this though. I'm watching, and no one, for those folks out there that forget, I ran for governor in Nevada. I lost the primary. It was a close primary, and wouldn't it be crazy right now? Joe Lombardo is about to be. For originally he was 28,000 votes ahead of ahead of Sisolak. And as we sit here right now, the thing that just came across, I'm sick to my stomach. Bianca, it just came across our thing here because I wrote back to my own team. I said, is this for real or is this a joke? So right now, Joe Lombardo is just got pulled ahead of by Steve Sisolak in the last 6 hours. Joe Lombardo is now Steve Sisolak is 48.33%. Joe Lombardo is 48.09%. Adam Laxalt, who was originally 49% to Catherine Cortez Masto's 47%, as of right now today at 12:32 p.m., Cortez Masto is now 50.12 and Adam Laxalt is 47.17.
You got to
They are stealing these races right now as we speak. Jim Merchant. Again, they've already stolen from him. Segal Chatter for Nevada. So my point is, the America First candidates that Trump endorsed or not, they were dead in the water. They could never let these people in. They weren't going to let them in. They weren't. I'll tell you right now, I experienced it firsthand. They knew overwhelmingly because they had to go make sure there was two requirements they were making sure on people that were let through. And I'm not going to comment on Nevada because the jury's out in Nevada. I really think Lombardo believes that he had a chance to win. I mean, after hearing some of the stuff he said, but there were two preconditions I noticed when I did all my surveillance of other candidates. Mm-hmm. They had to agree that there wasn't a issue with the 2020 election, and they had to be on the record of either saying Biden was duly elected or that when Trump talked about that, it made them uncomfortable. And the other thing was they had to agree not to do any investigations of the prior administration. So what I saw in the jockeying around the United States in different places where certain people, I don't want to pick on Michigan, I don't want to pick on Wisconsin, I don't want to pick on Pennsylvania, but people had to go and basically say publicly, you know what, if I get in, I'm gonna put the people's business first, Glenn Youngkin style, and I'm not gonna worry about what these corrupt people did, but I'm gonna fix stuff, or they had to say, no, I think Joe Biden was duly elected. That election integrity stuff makes me uncomfortable, and it's dangerous to talk about like that stuff. And like I just said, if and when I get in, I'm going to focus on the people's business. I'm not going to go back in the past. We're going to turn the page. And you saw all of them do this in one way or another on press. And it was usually when they got their 1 minute of mainstream media press, all of a sudden, again, go look at these governor candidates and these AG candidates, Secretary of State candidates that got, crowned by Trump or got pushed through or didn't face all this headway by the establishment. And I'm telling you, they might have even got Trump's endorsement and were okay with Trump. But then as soon as they got through the primary, they changed. And those were them.
You're right. That's exactly what's happening. The people that I've seen getting elected, Joey, or that made it through and have been elected are people who did have that message. They weren't worried about all the other stuff that happened in the past. They were telling their message to their people wherever they were running was, yeah, we got inflation. We got to fix it. They were talking to what is bothering people right now, what's affecting them. I was watching the Bannon show this morning and Steve Cortez said, listen, what was it? Gas prices are up 17%. Grocery prices are up 10 and utilities are up 16%. So at the end of the day, these are the three things that you must have on a day-to-day basis to live. Utilities, gas, and food. If you can't even maintain that, we got problems. That is the message that these candidates took to their people to say, we've got issues because right now, I don't care if they're patriots or not patriots. People want solutions. They're tired of hearing the problems. We understand there's problems, but it doesn't mean you have to continue to pound it down. Get yourself elected and then go do something about it. That's the thing. It's like what you said, DeSantis. He didn't even have to message it. He just went and did it. Created a task force, eliminated the amount of mail-in ballots. He just did it. He didn't have to go and say, I'm promised to go and make a law and blah, or someone's an illegitimate. He didn't have to do any of that because people want to hear, how are you going to solve the issues and problems that we have now? Open borders, illegals everywhere, fentanyl everywhere, gas prices up, grocery prices up. People can't pay electric bills, all of that stuff. They want to know what you're going to do to solve the problems, the Medicare problem, health problems, student debt, all that crap that people care about, all of the issues, right? That's what they want to hear from people. And so that's what you're seeing across the country. Those people that had that strong message, they won. J.D. Vance, look at J.D. Vance. He was a Trump endorsed candidate and they supported him. But at the end of the day, his messaging was solid. He sat there and he was like, hey, he was talking about what he was going to do if he got into office, things that people wanted to hear. So now here we are, replay of 2020, your own state. I mean, I don't get it. This is the one thing that's really irking me to the core, is if you watch all the conservative media, all of them, anybody, doesn't matter, Posobiec, and I love all these guys, Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, everybody. If you watch them, Joey, we're going to win. Oh, no, Carrie Lake's going to get over. She's going to get over. Oh, yeah, Adam Laxalt's got this. He's going to win. And they keep telling people we're going to win. The last thing you can do is mentally tell someone you know Carrie Lake's going to win. She's going to do-da-da-da-da, and it's going to flip, and they're slow walking, and blah, 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 and Joe Kent, and all these people that are out there in limbo. The worst thing you can do is tell people and get them all highly, okay, we're waiting. Joey, what are they going to do when all these people do lose and the elections get stolen from them? What are they going to do? You know what's going to happen to these patriots? They throw up the towel and they give up because they're tired of fighting and nothing happens. They're tired. They get tired. They get discouraged. And then you are telling them, oh, no, don't worry. We're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win. How about, everybody hang tight, stay focused, redirect. Let's see where our efforts can be. Let them count. Say something so where you don't deflate people's.
Here's the thing, though.
Hard.
The thing is this, though. We've got a serious problem that no one's recognizing. And until we get some help from the other sides, and especially these 6 swing states, they put through stuff that is now, it's law. Like right now, everything they're doing in Nevada right now as we sit here is 100% lawful. Okay. They say they have to count any ballots that are up through the 11th that are postmarked by, 5 p.m. on election day. So again, how hard is it to get a stamp? All right. I've got people that work in the post offices and stuff. They send a bunch of mail, comes in, they stamp it and separate it, and they get sat on. All right. So again, we've always known, Seth Ketchel said this the best. He said what they did is they took the mail-in vote totals, the early vote totals, the election day numbers, they paused it to get a sense where they're at. They let everything trickle in. The numbers stay largely the same for the first day or two. Don't change much at all. Then they stop, they freeze whatever they've got, and they start bringing in what they want, or they're just simply leaving out the other ones. So lots of ballots for both, Laxalt and Cortez Masto are coming in, except the Cortez Masto ones are getting counted in 3-1. They're letting 3 up for every one of Adams coming in. Same thing for everybody. You know what? There's also something like Lombardo. His campaign, they ran a good campaign at the end. Why? Because all they were doing was talking about schools, crime, the economy, and moving the state forward. So what does that do? That doesn't isolate. There's people that are definitely more like me, a little more extreme. I like to call it freedom-based.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't want something stuck in my arm or, something stuck in my kids or whatever. So anyway, or those that think that, these election things are really a bad deal. Or there's the everyday folks that, again, they're still going to vote for the Republican anyway because he's Republican and he's better than the Democrat. But if you don't go too much on these certain things, then you're going to bring in more of those people. And that's what we saw. So I don't think anybody did anything wrong. The problem is they're freaking cheating. They're cheating their asses off. Pardon my French. I'm sorry. You can edit that later. They're cheating everywhere. We're seeing it. Joe Lombardo just blew Steve Sisolak out of the water. It's not that there's a bunch of mail-in ballots still out there for this clown. No one wants it. Nobody voted for 4 more years of this nonsense. Let's just stop. We cannot allow them to normalize this and then us to turn on each other. People got to realize they cooked the books with the fake pandemic. They did a gain of function man-made virus in a lab that they let out. The intelligence community let it spread. They shut down the country. They shut down the world. They changed the election laws. They stole an election, and they haven't stopped. And everybody's got to stop getting sideways and think it's anything but that. That's it.
You won your case, man. Are we in the court of law right now? Because I'm sure I can have you present all your facts and all your evidence. Listen,
we got to maintain, dude.
You ran, I ran. Here's the thing. What are we going to do? Somebody asked, they're like, we're screwed. How do we take over the system? I'm like, it's tough because, first of all, I've tried to, you kind of get in the system, and not that you're trying to take over, but they got their stakes in the ground, man. You got to have a lot of money. You got to have, they will come at you in different ways. Here in Harris County where I live, we elected a grassroots activist to become the GOP chairman. Okay. Grassroots, didn't take any special interest, no money. What happened? The establishment, Abbott, Lieutenant Dan Patrick, what did they do? Them and the establishment people with money, what they did is they squeezed them out. And they said, they told the donors, do not write any checks to the GOP. Don't write any checks. This is Harris County, I'm crying out loud. Don't write any checks. So he couldn't pay rent to keep the buildings open. He, the GOP offices, he couldn't pay the bills. They squeezed him out. And then they used, hold on. And then they used, something stupid he did online. They used it and said, he's an embarrassment. And they called on him to resign. This is what, so I'm like, how do we get ahead?
Everything. They control everything behind the scenes.
Everything.
And again, I think the only way I've been gaming this in my mind now since I lost the primary. Well, anyway, you know what I'm saying? Since the primary went the way the primary went. And I've sat to myself and said a bunch of times, the only way is to work from the outside and kind of infiltrate their people and start getting to their people and turning them around, to the Lord, to the fact of honesty, integrity, show them what's really going to show them. I mean, we're going to have to, this is going to take a while. This is not going to be, and the other thing is this, I know this is crazy, but I've been telling people this, we're going to have to stop. We will continue to be shut out of stuff if we continue to remain as vocal about certain things where it's like, I'm just telling you right now, you're going to see me put my head down here shortly and worry about my family and worry about my businesses. But Joey Gilbert ain't changing in the sense that, I know what I need to do and I'm going to focus on what's important. And that's the best. I'm going to expand on it. And I guess we'll see, because I'm telling you, Bianca, we're losing time here. And the louder you and I are incredible voices, we can fire everybody up. But we also scare the shit out of the other side. And they immediately say, that's one person you don't let them in, you don't let them talk, you don't give them any time, you censor them, you freaking shadow ban them. So we've got to work on finding a way to kind of do some black ops stuff and sneak in the back door, and all of a sudden they don't know and we're inside. That's all I can say.
You're exactly right, because that's exactly what has happened. The more that we speak up, the more that we do things, if it's not for their benefit and not for their agenda, then they silence you immediately. They're like, oh no, they'll use whatever. Oh, she's on the J6 thing, or she's on this, or she did that, or they start to, oh, you don't, that's too controversial. Don't put them there. Don't let them hear. So you're exactly right. This is exactly what they do. In all my years of being on, I'm just going to use Fascist Book. All the years I've been on Fascist Book, you would think that as traveling throughout the country, that I would have gained followers, traveling around the country, speaking out, podcasts. I mean, I've been on, I was on 60 Minutes. They highlighted me on freaking 60 Minutes. You think my social media would have blown up or something? No. Gained no new followers. It's been sitting at 3,000 followers. Nope. Since, I don't know, 20. I went from
113,000 followers on Twitter to locked at 8,700 for a couple years. Finally, now I'm back up to 31,000, 32,000. Same thing. We've spoken all over the country in like 15 states. I've been on Fox News, sharing, whatever her name is, Laura Ingraham for the hydroxychloroquine. I mean, I've been on CNN. I've been on Fox. you name it. It's crazy. Nothing. Not a single game.
No, CNN. I've been on CNN. I've been on CNN twice, or maybe 3 times now. Fox News, same thing. One American News, Newsmax, and all the other conservative. And you would think that we'd have tremendous following. Nope, no new. I'm like, how does that even happen? But we know, based on where we go, that people do know us. They do know us. They will recognize us. They do know us. They'll be like, or they'll say, you look familiar. Sometimes I just don't want to look familiar. So I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I must look like somebody, And I just kind of play it off. But, this little establishment uniparty system is deadly. It's really deadly. And, I honestly, I'm not that I'm being negative at all, because I really want Kari Lake to win, but it's not looking good. Have you seen that she's like now not at 8,000? She's like at 15 or 18,000 now behind.
Let's fix the camera real quick.
So Joe, what does that tell you?
Tells me that we got a big problem.
Well, we know we got a big problem, but again, like we said, how in the world, I hear you. We're going to have to kind of go back and lay low and take care of our family. We get that. I get that. I feel like in the last 6 years, I have sacrificed a lot and put my family on the back burner, to save this country, to fight for freedom and liberty. But at the end of the day, you look at Trump, you look at his whole movement, his little bubble. Joey, they don't come to our rescue. They don't come to our rescue and say, hey,
you know what?
Don't bully.
Bianca,
don't bully.
That's the other thing too, is we both been around some pretty amazing people, but at the end of the day, people are going to take care of themselves. They're going to worry about themselves. And I got to be honest with you, after this last couple of years, I'm only where I'm at because of my own hard work and the fact that I've got a great staff behind me here in my law office in Reno, and I've got a great family and support system. But nothing I did out there in the last 2.5 years, no one helped me do jack. If anything, I went backwards financially, resource-wise, stuff I put out there for everybody. So I'm back to my own grind, and I know I can make a bigger impact in my own backyard, basically. And there are certain things I've taken from people that we both experienced a lot of time with on the road. General Flynn, about local involvement, national impact. I'm worried about Reno, Nevada, about Nevada in general. I'm not trying to do anything else, but I am going to go to war with the school districts. I'm going to go to war with the doctors. I'm going to go to war with some of the issues on crime and how laws are enforced. And that's what I could do as a lawyer. That's what I could do. And I could do a lot more if I am focused here and I'm not out across the country on some stage somewhere. So that's a lot of fun. And it's fun for the ego, I guess, a little bit. Yeah. But it's not moving the needle as much as I'm noticing moving the needle here that I was doing before I even ran for governor, just in my local fight. And that's where I think if we all take anything and we take it back to local, and we say, what can we do in our own backyard? Yes. What can we go? Because Bianca Gracias will be a force in any school board meeting in her local community, any county commission meeting, any legislative meeting. Again, they're going to be going oh my God, they're going to be making the sign of the cross as you're walking in. And that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to get my lions, my local lions. As I said the other day, I was on a leadership call. I'm going to get my local lions, and I'm glad I brought this up with you because it's something I want to talk to you about. I want to start offering the ability to go train some people on what we do so we can create other local lions. So I'm going back to my roots of about 3 years ago, saying, hey, if you want us to come and show you how to get set your community meetings, set public comment, go and provide comment on the record, break it down from what to do in 3 minutes. And if we can get 10 people, how they can string those comments along. Anyway, that's something you and I are going to talk about, but that's what we need to do.
We need to listen. I have a plan for that. I was calling it the America First Academy, and our Latinos for America First. I said we need to go back and do little town halls and little small, not the big, huge hoorah. We need to do where we get 5-10 people and we train them to do what we know how to do. Right. And you multiply efforts like that. That's what we need to do. So, Joey, you are on the same wavelength as me. We've got to start doing that in our local communities, hit these, the places that get left behind that nobody goes and listens to, but we got to create other leaders. We've got to train them, mentor them, and put them out and have them go run for school board and the commissioner and the city councils and, whatever it is, get them appointed to positions, right? There's always appointments. Get them appointed to something, right? To board of directors, things where they can become involved. And that's how we start creating leaders.
Bianca, one of the things, people don't know this, but I did Tony Robbins, Leadership Academy, his Master University, his speakers, but I was on that as a peak performance coach. But I'll say this, 5 or 10, it's not going to be 5 or 10. I've got groups that are anywhere between 30 and 300 that they're a couple mama bear groups combined with a couple of the, local Republican clubs. And they've all reached out and said, how have you done this? And they've heard us. They've seen us at these, Reawaken tours, and they've reached out and said, we want to flip our county. We want to flip our school board. And we know that you can do it. And they know. And so again, all I'll say is that's where we're headed on a more granular, simpler level, getting with guys that I was working with from the very beginning and, putting together some very simple stuff for them to follow that they can go into a public meeting and put these guys on notice, schedule public comment, get stuff passed through, and start holding these people accountable. But I'll tell you, it is something that we've got to move quickly on, and we've got to make sure that we lock down the states that are freest right now Because if you see in any of the states, like what Florida just did, where they didn't allow the games to be played any further, now that state's infinitely more safe than it would have been, 4 years from now with DeSantis gone. Now, again, they're going to go right back to chipping away at it, but we got to look at places. And again, this is a conversation for offline, but you and I got to look at places where they're still Republican and they're strong and they're able to do stuff. But you can see that the DAs and the local people are making their way in. We got to strengthen those laws to make sure they can't get universal mail-in ballots coming and ballot harvesting and more machine games. We've got to get in there and right that ship immediately before they're overwhelmed and then there's no coming back.
You're exactly right. Definitely we'll have to have a real good strategic conversation offline, but I will tell you that local seems to be an impact. I haven't gone back to do the whole aftermath of this, election cycle, but what I was trying to start already to look up is that we did have a lot of local wins, a ton of local wins across the nation, but nobody's talking about them because everybody's focusing on, Nevada and Arizona and Pennsylvania. And, they're focusing on these other states that no one's really paying attention to all the local efforts and the wins that we had and the victories we had. One of the other things, Joey, too, is that, the reason that we're at in the place that we're at right now is because what we are talking about right now, the Democrats did this back in the 60s, 70s. They had a ground game and they built on it. This is exactly what they did. That's why they're sitting in the positions that they're in, because to them, it was a long game. It wasn't a short game. They went for the long game. They infiltrated, build up. And they went after their local and came all the way up. That's why they're where they're at. They're always, when they come to organizing and mobilizing, the Democrat Party is very good at it. And that's why they are where they're at. And our side doesn't know how to do that. Instead, they're over here like Trump and DeSantis. And, I can't say that DeSantis, it's Trump. I'm sorry, it's Trump. DeSantis hasn't started to poke at the bear. He's not sitting there calling Trump a loser. You're the one that can't win a presidency. I mean, crap. If it was me, I'd be hitting back. DeSantis isn't hitting back. You know what that shows me? Class. You know what that's going to attract people and say, you know what? Trump is going to start looking like a dumb, you know what? Because he's the one hitting and saying and poking the bear. And DeSantis is like, I'm just going to handle my business. Like you said. He's just going to handle his business.
I think I'm going to go a step further. You got to look at DeSantis's record and look where this guy's just simple guy. He's very, very smart. Go really look at what he did. The guy's he's like an all-American all-star from everything. But if you look at it, I've kind of mapped this out. First of all, he's no dummy, Bianca. So when he wants to bring in a whole different side of voters, that's when you fire back against Trump. There's no need to do it right now. You're not. But when you want to bring in some more inclusion, first of all, you're going to have people that are Trump people that don't like it, but they're not going to not vote for you over it because he's going to have deserved it by then. So DeSantis is not letting that political capital go anywhere. He's very smart. He's keeping it in the bank where he should. And when the time is right, he's going to say, you know what? I had plenty of chances back in 2022 to call this orange man bad, guy, whatever. He's going to say something. He says, but I didn't do it. But again, if he wants to talk about it, I'm not the one that's lost. However, I mean, he can say whatever he wants to say. And there's no need to drop those missiles right now because those things are going to bring in independents. They're going to bring in Democrats. It's not going to lose them Trump people because they're just going to say, well, Trump did freaking, swing on him for 4 years. The guy never said a thing. I made him. I created Baby Ron. I just saw that the other day. That's ridiculous. President Trump, why? But again, we only know so much. We always try to pretend like we understand this, we understand that. I don't know, man. I still have a beef with Trump over his holdings in the vaccine companies, the fact that he still talks about that garbage, the fact that he never came out against it and said, don't get it again, the fact that he didn't push early treatment harder. He should have come out and said, you know what? No, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, all that stuff is that we're seeing now. They knew about that stuff as early as June and July 2020.
Yep.
Let's go past April, May, June, July, September, October. They knew all that stuff. By the time Pierre Corey's testifying in front of the commissions, that stuff should have been handed out at your local county health department. So again, Trump's up to something. I really hope he doesn't go after DeSantis, but DeSantis is going to lay back, rope-a-dope, Muhammad Ali style, just lay on the ropes, just take those blows, and just lay there, probably smiling like, tee, tee. And then all of a sudden he's going to come out and go, boom, boom. And everyone's going to go, oh my God, he hit Trump back. He called Trump a this and that. And everyone's going to say, but remember where you heard it first. On whose podcast we talked about this first 2 years ago when they're playing this in the mainstream media. Remember who talked about it, because DeSantis is no chump. And again, he's done what any reasonable governor should do. Lock down your backyard, take care of your business before you put your focus anywhere else. Lock down everything you could do, and then sit back. And like I said, now he's leading by example. And when the time is right, remember, boom, boom.
Yep.
Everyone's going to go, wow.
I'm going to come back and I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to come back and pull this podcast and be like, there we go. He said it was said here on this date. And you're probably right. Listen, these guys are not dumb. And Trump is not dumb either. He's not. But he's operating out of emotion.
He's got an ego, and he's somewhat narcissistic. Where why would you tack Ron DeSantis? DeSantis just proved to the world that the way he was running and governing worked. He had more consensus than in a place where freaking Democrats are pitted against Republicans. And it's like a 50-50 with the independents coming in on wherever to win 65, 70% in some areas. And to get Miami-Dade County, you know what, President Trump, give the guy a break, leave him alone. Obviously, by not arguing election integrity every single day and just doing to prevent election integrity and not worry about fighting your battle. That's your own fault, because there's a lot of things you could have done early on that you didn't do. And now, again, people you didn't listen to that said, get this guy out, get that guy out, do declare this, do declare that. You didn't do it. And now, and you've always had some bad apples around you advising you. That's your fault. I think DeSantis ran one of the most brilliant campaigns. I think the way he handled himself was amazing. And I think he's got one of the most beautiful, sincere wives I've ever seen in my life. That guy's going places. And again, if I was Trump, I wouldn't pick that fight right now, because like I said, DeSantis is going to rope-a-dope you. He's going to catch you with a check hook, followed by an overhand right. You can go to sleep, puppy. Like that. Yep.
Listen, not only that, what he has to be careful is that his wife, Ron DeSantis' wife, just, she was battling cancer, and she, is in remission. And so the last thing you want to hit is a man whose wife, just went through that, and it resonates with other moms and other wives. You don't want to get the mama bears pissed off about something because you're going after someone's husband, for doing good. That's just not going to resonate. It's not going to resonate with moms and across the country, the ones that are not, completely politically plugged in. They're not going to like it. They're going to sympathize with the woman who just survived cancer and whose husband is governing righteously, good for his people, and he's made history with what he did in Florida. I think he won 65 out of 70 counties or something like that. He only lost 5 counties in the state of Florida, and he won them. All the counties he did win was by 10 to 20 points. He won the counties. You know what I asked? I asked my Cuban friend, and I said, I was telling him the same stat. I said, hey, DeSantis won like predominantly all the other, almost all the counties. You know what his answer was back? Oh, and the ones he lost were probably because there was voter fraud. He should have won all of them. And I was like, this is their attitude in Miami. This is their attitude. Those Cubans, man, they're relentless. The Cubans understand that they're fighting for freedom. And they look for the champion, just like, you're a boxer. That's what attracts me to you and your philosophy and your methodology and, and your strategy is because, you have to think a certain way. You have to strategize. You have to know how to win. You are trained. When you're going into that arena and you're going to go do a fight, you don't just go to the gym every day and punch and stuff. It's a mind thing. You got to study your opponent. You got to figure out what are his weaknesses and what does he do in the ring. If you're smart, You got to study your opponent and figure out what his little stance is and where he's weaker and stronger at so that you know how to come in. And it's a mental thing. It's a mental, and you got to be strutting and you got to be strategizing on how you're going to win that race. Because it's just not about, okay, I have a great uppercut and a great punch and I can knock you out and I can do all. There's a whole lot more, as you know, in being a fighter. It's the same thing. You can apply it to the political realm. Same thing. If you are smart, you sit there, you study your opponents, you do what you got to do, and you come up with a good strategy, a winning strategy. And that's the name of the game at the end of the day. And that's what I think, and a lot of things right now, too, that I've been hearing, like from a lot of moms, a lot of business owners, small business owners, that have been talking to me on the side, and they're just like, hey, Bianca, we don't like this or we don't like that. But to them, it's about like you said, local community. Like, my chiropractor, she's like, I don't care what the hell you're doing. You do not belong in Wisconsin. You need to be in Texas because we're going to lose Texas. I was like, we're not losing Texas. She goes, they were believing that Beto was going to win. I was like, Beto's not going to win. But they were like, get your butt back here, quit working in other states and take care of here first. So I get that, because they wanted to make sure that our quality of life where we live remained good. That's all they cared about. They're like, look, I can't handle Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Nevada and Florida and North Carolina. We care about what's going on here in our backyard. And that's at the end of the day what does sell. It's not a selling point, but it's the reality, is the hurt that people are going through. I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Joey, and I visited, one of the Black neighborhoods up, I guess, in the northern part of Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, Milwaukee. Literally, people get shot during the day, like through drive-bys. The crime rate is horrific. And we're walking the streets, and the number one complaint from these people was the abandoned buildings. Abandoned buildings. You would think that it was Joe Biden, the way that the media makes it out to be, it's Trump. No, they cared about the abandoned buildings, the crime rate. They cared that the gas prices are up. One said, hey, she's like, something's wrong. She's like, I go into the grocery store. I can't pay no $20 for a thing of chicken. So they're hurting. They're hurting. Small businesses, we talk to small business, hurting. The end of the day, all this other stuff that we talk about is one thing. But if you go to your backyard and you just really start talking to people, Joey, you understand that people are suffering in the United States of America. Yeah. And we're losing our freedoms along the way. But at the end of the day, we're suffering. People are suffering. People's children are dying. Yes, we're fighting indoctrination. We're fighting the school board. Yes, all that is happening. But the reality of things is everyday life. The people that just wake up, go to work, feed their kids, go to their little league, baseball, football, whatever it is, whatever they're doing, what those things that they're doing, and then come back home and then just know that they have to get up the next day and do it all over again and make sure they bring a paycheck home so they can go buy their groceries, feed their children, clothe them, and pay their utilities. So at the end of the day, that's what matters. And people are hurting. It broke my heart when I saw that in Milwaukee, and even these kids that were saying, hey, I talked to 3 kids, just street kids, right? I call them street kids. I don't want to call them gangsters, but they've been in and out of jail. And they said, we just want jobs. When we come out of jail, they're like, all these abandoned buildings, why aren't they turning them into somewhere that teaches us how to fill out a job application? Because we don't even know how to fill out a job application. I mean, simple things, Joey, simple things that could really turn the community around. And you think these politicians have been playing all of us for their own greed, their power, satisfaction, agenda, whatever you want to call it. And real people are suffering on the ground. That's what hurt me. And you're right, Joey, we have to go back to local, and start farming and building a team, because we're not going to win it running around the country. And that's all great and everything. And if I'm needed, I go, but we're not going to completely win it if we don't take care of our own backyard first.
I'll just say this. I'm looking down because as you're saying this, I was looking at a message. One of my friends that was running for school board in one of the other counties. I'm trying to find out, how it went. But what's crazy is if we don't focus back on these, local races on our own backyards, we'll never get control of this. We got to stop thinking that, the whole thing everyone's saying, like anybody coming to save us but ourselves. We got to worry about ourselves. We can make. I mean, it might take a time. It might take 2 more cycles to win back some of these even smaller counties that everybody took for granted years ago. But they've even wired stuff in there. We got to start, and I'm telling you, this is where you and I got to hook up offline. But we got to go to the most, strongest conservative counties and armor up there, and then go to the county to the right and armor that one up, county left, armor that one up, and put like 3 boom, boom, boom in a row. And then slowly over 1 or 2 cycles, work on those 2 other counties. Get them built back up. And we're going to have to slowly start waffling these guys, mushrooming them over and over until we get control back. That's the only thing I can think of.
It is. It's local. General Flynn's been saying it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I bet if we go back, and I'm sure someone out there is studying this, if we go back and look at all the local wins this November, I bet there's a bunch of local wins and no one is talking about them. No one. And now what they're doing is just keeping us fixated on, Trump just said this about DeSantis. So they want to take us off, our mind off what's really happening in Arizona, what's happening in Nevada. That's what they're trying to do right now. And so, Joey, I know you're saying local, go back local, but what other projects are you working on? Where can people find you? I know this is not the end of Joey Gilbert. I know you're saying you're going to go back and just kind of, maybe lay low for a little bit, take care of your family, which you should. And I know your daughter was supposed to join us today. I just love this amazing young woman you are raising as a single dad. I've never, I've met a lot of single parents, right? And I've never seen a father-daughter duo like you and your daughter. The respect, the love that you have for each other. She really looks up to you, and I can see that. I almost want to cry about it because I'm a girl, and I remember my dad. I don't have him anymore, but to see your dad and she admires you so much. I mean, you could just tell she admires everything about you. She admires what you do. She sees a fight in you. You're now training her. She's a fighter. I just see, and I'm like, Joey, what you and I may not have or get to accomplish in our lifetime, our children will. My children, they see what I do. They want to get involved. They've been involved. They're getting involved. Your child sees what you're doing. Whether you and I ever get to that point where we have that winning moment or not winning moment, or God puts us where he's going to put us, our children will, because we are setting an example. And your daughter just admires you. And I can see you're training her to be that fighter, that she's going to need that winning, fighting soul to fight what's coming up and what we are looking at in the long term of this game. And so, continue to do what you do, because it's not easy. I mean, you manage a law firm, you're out in the community, you ran for governor, you're touring you've gone around the country, and yet you have a daughter that isn't hooked on drugs. She's not in and out of prison. She's well-groomed. She's well-spoken. She travels with you when she can. She goes and does her education. And I just got to say, Joey, there's not a lot of dads that do that. And there's a lot of little girls out there that would wish to have 1 ounce of a Joey Gilbert, just 1 ounce. There's so many young girls. And that's why we see a lot of these girls that turn to prostitution and turning tricks and sex trafficking. And, they get into the child trafficking because they're missing that at home. And so how in the world the Lord, utilized you to be able to multitask business, running for office, Reawaken Tour, on the ground, in your own state, taking on cases, fighting in court, frontline doctors, and still manage to raise a very loving, wonderful, fighting, beautiful soul of a daughter that you have. I just maybe that's the class you need to teach. You need to teach how to be a dad.
She's definitely my number one priority. I always tell everybody that my greatest accomplishment will be my daughter, and we are making sure these kids have what they need to. There's no doubt in my mind, she's not only mentally tough, physically tough, spiritually tough, psychologically tough, emotionally tough, all those things. But, she also has a heart and she understands. And so it's very important to me that she did come travel with us. She's a two-sport athlete, both jiu-jitsu and tennis. And so, I'm just honored to be her dad. Like it has been, that's probably my favorite part about what I do is, and I kind of look at it like from a selfish point of view too. I didn't get through this thing in Governor, but, I'm driving my daughter to school every morning. And I just love it. The kids are here every weekend with me. All the kids, this is the house they come to. We got the pool, we got the gym, we got the sun. So they're all here. I'm not going to lie. I did create it that way so that I keep an eye on those little suckers. But it's been that way since the pandemic. When the school shut down, I was the dad that was having to send staff to Costco twice a week because these little, whatever you want to call them, they were eating me out of house and home. They were never sick. They're never sick. Not one time were they sick, but they were downstairs on that trampoline eating me out of house and home. So it's been an honor to spend time around the children. It really is about the children. So when you ask a couple questions, people can go on joeygilbert.com. I went back and took my old boxing site when I was a fighter because I always had Joey Gilbert. So joeygilbert.com, I've got that fighter, father, leader, and we're just charging ahead. And I've got like 4 or 5 issues that during the campaign that I'm continuing to spotlight. One of them being the schools. The schools is where I'm going to put the majority of my focus right now is going to be on the Washoe County and Nevada Department of Education, Clark County School District. Going to put a ton of focus there. I think I could do more there than I can anywhere else. And again, the only time you can ever make actually affect any change with the way that these groups control things now is with money. And you either got to take money from them or cost them money. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start hitting the school district real hard, uppercuts all day, and I'm going to cost them some real money. And then I'm going to say, I told you like this. I told you that if you didn't fix this restorative justice, if you didn't fix this, credit recovery, if you didn't stop this drug, addiction problem, if you didn't stop this absenteeism, we were going to be here having this talk. And now I'm here. And now you got a legislative session to fix it, but I've already cost you guys 50, 60 million bucks. And I'm going to bring you another 50, 60 million to the table. On the floor. And then we'll be back here in a special session. So you decide how you want this to go down. And that's how we're going to do it. We're going to affect change a different way. So I'd say go on joeygilbert.com and just join in the fight. Same things. Give us your information. And we're going to have on there for you. Do you want to be involved more in the school fight? Do you want to be involved more in what we're going to do, criminal justice reform? And again, that's both ways, making sure that bad people aren't out of jail and good people aren't in jail for stupid BS, right? And then at the same time, we want to also look at some of the sex trafficking issues we have, that just goes down another segue down to border. So again, we're going to affect change where we can affect change. And the best thing is these are 80% issues. The economy, medical privacy, medical freedom, the schools, the border, and Second Amendment. And again, that's where we got a lot of Latinos on board, by the way, because they wanted to make sure that they could have their gun. They know what happens when the government takes guns, because then it's real newsflash for everybody. Only the bad guys have guns then, right? This isn't rocket science.
Exactly. I love it. Well, and speaking of, taking care of local, when I thought that we were just about to be able to kind of go into the holiday season, right? Walker goes into runoff out in Georgia. So we've got a team heading out to Georgia tomorrow, and we're going to go and affect change in the best way that we know how to do what we know how to do, right? As grassroots activists. And we've got a whole team going. Be on the lookout for that. I think some of your guys are traveling with us as well. So they know they love to travel with me. We have so much fun. They create the best content out there. And so I just love it. And we're just going to go and take care of business, man. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it, like you said, one county at a time, one district at a time. And that's what we're just going to continue to do. So, I admire you, and, I'm one of your fans, and anything you ever need, that you've got. You just call me, Joey. I drop what I'm doing, and I will always come out to help you.
And likewise, anywhere you're at, you need me parachute in with my team or whatever. I mean, it's not that you haven't stole part of my team, but that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, though. It's good people. Again, they wouldn't be going to you if they didn't think you were, it's a respect thing too. Those guys aren't just in it for the money. They're real dudes. They're real people. So it's an honor to me that my group is still, because again, I feel like we're still in the fight together. Wherever we're at, even if it goes down to once a month, once every 2 months, we're in the fight. Wherever we're at, you're with me, I'm with you. You're in my heart, I'm in your heart. So please continue. If you need me anywhere, I'm there. Best luck for you on your show. I'm sure I'll be back on with some updates here soon. Nevada is still at play. They are stealing Nevada as we speak. All right. And let's see what happens. But I look forward to joining you in a local area soon, Bianca.
Yes.
And let's just stay in shape. Stay in touch.
We will do that. Definitely. Joey, thank you so much for taking your time to come and, join us live today we're streaming across Twitter, Facebook, Getter, YouTube, and Getter is probably where I have my most, outreach right now because I'm not censored there. But that's where we're at right now. And, so to all our Getter fans out there, this is where you go find Joey. You heard it straight from Joey's mouth today on a couple predictions and what's going on in Nevada. And guys, I think on behalf of Joey and I, guys, stay focused and stay on mission. You're going to feel deflated. We are going to have a couple of losses and a couple of gains, but you got to stay focused, stay in the fight like we are. You may not see us out there and around, too much nationally, but start taking care of business in your own territory. You're just going to have to start chipping away like Joey says. So we thank you all so much again for joining us on Stand Up, Stand Out America today. Sponsored here by America Project. As you all know, I am their chief strategist. It has been an honor to work with Dr. Patrick Byrne and General Flynn and Joe Flynn and all these great patriots over at the America Project. They are like my second family, Joey. They're your family. They're my family. This has been a phenomenal movement, and I'm just so blessed to be part of it and blessed to know all of y'all. So I just thank y'all so much. And Joey, we will definitely be tuning in with you next time. Maybe you'll have some other, maybe when all this counting is over, we'll come back and talk about it and see what happens. If a miracle happens or it's as predicted, they're stealing the election from y'all. So we'll just go back and see.
I've lived this before. I've seen this nightmare. I don't want to watch the sequel to it, but we're going through it now. And I will be in touch with you again soon, Bianca. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye, guys. We'll see you all next time on Stand Up, Stand Out America.